Here we are live. We should do it live.
I think that'd be cool. Figure out
See how many people would.
I think
would
after we
jump
get
in.
I think we're getting regularly 50 viewers from the alumni pretty regularly. So I think we could do that if we probably polled them on what a good day and good time would be to do a live stream. We could take questions and stuff. This is what I've been doing. I've been reading this book called Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker.
Nice. Cool.
And it's apparently the secret to many successful entrepreneurs and business people, just how to manage themselves. And it's a really short read. I mean, the text is really small or really big, and the pages are small. And so I've been, when I read, I write in my books. I have a conversation with the text, and so I've underlined a lot, and I've written notes in the book, questions to ask myself. Example questions they have is when you want to figure out where you fit into an organization or how you should work, how you should be working, because everybody should lean into their strengths, right? The question is, the first question is, what are your strengths, right? You got to figure out what your strengths are and how you work well. And then the next question is, how do I perform, right? For me, I'm really good at performing on the fly, right? I'm really good at talking things out and doing them. And then I'm really good at being a person that people come to for questions. And then the third question is, what are my values? And so that you can start to think about where you are moving yourself forward, right? And how, what position you put yourself in an organization, or how you're going to accomplish your work. Because not everybody works the same way. And if I try to do something the same way that you would try to do something, it's not going to be as successful. And then you ask yourself about the actual task, right? What does your situation require? Given your strengths, the way of performing, and your values, how can you make the greatest contribution to what needs to be done? And what results have to be achieved to make a difference? So, yeah. So I'm halfway through with this. I mean, I'm almost done with, it's actually 2 books. It's Managing Oneself. And then the next book is Being an Effective Executive. And they're really tiny. It's not a dense read. It's get through it so you can get back to doing your work and do really well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like those types of maxim type of books where they get to the point. I think that's exactly right, is playing to your strengths. I think a lot of it's personality traits, right? I think more of it than we think is actually our personality. More of it is our biological wiring, really, which is good for some things and good for bad, and not good for some things. I think, too many times we're trying to put a round peg in a square hole. And we're trying to change our motivation factors, and if I can only, if I do this, I'll feel better. If I do this, I'll change, where instead what we should be doing is looking at our strengths, finding what motivates us, what we're aligned with, and, using those things to hack, or at least using things to help in our places of challenge as well.
Right. And then ultimately, you got to find the right people who align with your strengths, in that they have different strengths that work well with you, right? So aligning with other people who can complement you.
Right. That's why the Wozniak-Jobs combination was so great.
You got to lube up that square hole so you can get your cylindrical peg.
Right. If you find the best way to do that, that's where, that's kind of a metaphor for things like, if you're bad at calendaring, how do you get a notification that will make sure you have a podcast with Craig at this time?
Right.
so it's like, hey, I'm not very good at. I mean, I'm okay, but I'm not very good at like always just scheduling and setting reminders.
Don't I
And
know it?
it's only been a couple times.
when I made you that planner,
Right.
and it's like, write down the time of day that you're going to be doing this and then check it off. And it's just like, you just turn it into to-do list. You're like, oh my God, I'm getting so much done. It's just a to-do list. I'm like,
Right.
I learned a lot about product development. I learned a lot about like how different people work differently. I was like, oh, okay.
Right. You're much more conscientious, which is good. You're much, well, maybe it's like orderliness, right? You probably have much more of an orderly fashion of doing things.
I have an orderly fashion by necessity, because I know I lose track of time really easy. Like I can like stop and talk to somebody for 20 minutes and then totally lose track of time. All of a sudden it's been an hour and a half. So
Yeah, totally. But if that can be a good thing, but like,
when you got your priorities, you got stuff.
I'm thinking about getting. I mean, if you're at work or something, right? You can't do that. And so if you're in the office or something, and so yeah, like I'm looking at getting the new iWatch, for instance, to just pound my wrist and be like, look, do this now. You have to, And so I think that can be lubing up the square hole.
Exactly. It's helping you fit into the box, the category that you don't necessarily fit into, but you have to do it because, you don't have a personal assistant to do it for you.
Right. Yeah, you can hire someone else who's very conscientious, or
well, yeah, that's what AI is going to be for and stuff,
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
It just seems like some of that stuff should be easy. Reminders and time. I mean, it is, right? You just look at your Google Calendar. You wake up, you look at how about a reminder to look at your Google Calendar, And so you can create those systems, I think. But I just think a lot of that stuff is personnel. It's who you are, It's for better or for worse.
Until you build a habit, right? And then then it's like your thing, right?
Right.
I mean, like, I don't think I would have been a person with a planner unless I grew up with planners in school, right? So like they made us have planners. So, and I saw myself without one and realized I didn't get as much stuff done. And so I was like, all right.
Do you feel like you're someone who has to finish something?
You
start it?
No, I'm not like a perfectionist either. So like, I'm just one of those types of people who like, I know I can achieve a lot more if I finish things. And because I'm so self-development oriented, I just want to, right? Like I want to be that person. I want to be able to accomplish those things. So I have to write stuff down so that I do it. I've had a list for the past 2 weeks and I got through half of it. And then I started adding more to it and stuff. And yesterday,
that's what happens with me. Yeah.
Yeah. And yesterday I rewrote it. But having a to-do list is so helpful, right? If you can get 3 things done per day, I think that's like really solid. 3 things that you need to do, right? You're doing so much more than most people.
What's that method? I want to say the Pandora method, but it's not Pandora. It's a method where you basically time yourself for like 25 minutes or 30 minutes and you focus on one thing. And then
Pomodoro technique?
The Pomodoro technique, right.
Yeah.
And right, the Pomodoro technique. Yeah. I have a friend who does that. And what he does is he does it with marbles from one wooden bowl to another wooden bowl. So he'll be like, I have 6 marbles or 10 marbles or something in one bowl, these beautiful marbles. And he gets to move over a marble from one bowl to the other bowl if he can go a half hour focusing on one thing. Right?
Oh.
So he says this is super effective. And
that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah. And so logically for me, I'm like, that's amazing. and I can't even get around to ordering the damn bowls from Amazon. They're like still in my wish list or whatever.
Right.
And so,
But if they're, that's why I think it's so helpful to have like a desk space, because then you can have that in front of you while you're
yeah,
sleeping,
totally.
right? Like you can have your planner open in front of you if you have the desk space. But if you don't have space, you don't have space to be creative or productive in any sort of way. Like you don't, it's so hard to do it. That's why I like to, before I have a bunch of stuff I have to accomplish, I like to like clean my house and like make sure everything's clean so I don't have to worry about the space being cluttered and like bothering me and distracting.
Right.
That's why it's helpful to have an office, right?
Yeah, or I mean, even have your clean up your room. Like having
Clean
your
room. You start
having
early.
make your bed.
If anybody's playing Jaunty podcast bingo.
Jordan, drink. It's a drinking game.
Yeah, every time we bring up Jordan Peterson.
It's also that general, right, who says make your bed to start with accomplishing something.
General?
There was some army veteran, an army general that
David
wrote
Goggins or something, or
no,
Henry Rollins, David Goggins.
Henry Rollins.
I don't know.
No,
Henry Rollins is a comedian, isn't he? I don't know.
Is it no? Henry Rollins was a musician.
Oh yeah. He's I'm thinking of somebody else.
The Henry Rollins band.
David Goggins is that.
David Goggins, yeah.
That one dude.
But yeah, the general says, start off by making your bed. As I look over, my bed is not made. But I also didn't sleep in my bed last night, so I didn't. I did make a bed today though. But you wake up and you start off with accomplishing something. But who knows, man? Like, it's sad to say in a lot of sense. It's sad, but it also doesn't have to be sad. That a lot of this stuff is bullshit. Like it might feel good, and there could be a placebo effect, which could be just as powerful. But I really think we are more predisposed. We have more predisposition. My vocabulary is off today. I had some drinks last night. Predisposed to things than we think we are.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, so. We're definitely way more. We're so affected by the power of suggestion, and like I didn't realize this until I saw this YouTube video. This guy, his channel's called What I've Learned, and he talks about like the power of advertising. And it's so interesting because like I will like go buy an In-N-Out burger and like I smell it and I'm like, and I might be like, oh well, I just ate or whatever. I don't want to eat. I don't want that. But like 2 days later, I'll be like thinking about having a burger because like it's been implanted into my mind. And like advertisement works just like that, it just like plants a seed and then it strokes that and like waters it and it gives it a little bit of time, and then eventually you're like, you know what, I'm gonna get that bowl with the marbles, I'm gonna get that thing. Or
right, when the time comes up and you want to buy a car or you want to get a burger, that's where you're gonna go. Right. And I think that's more like familiarity. Dude, my English is off today, but that's more like comfort. That's more self-comfort, I think, and more branding and awareness and just like, knowledge and knowing about it. Front of mind, right? That's more like front of mind. And that's what's so powerful about advertising is that you can think about it more. You can picture it in your mind's eye. You can dream about it, but it has to be done right. If there's one commercial that you ever see and that's it, I don't know, like even one commercial, like I can think of some Super Bowl commercials where I'm like, that was interesting and I remember it. Even though those are big companies that you've seen and heard before, Be
Or like
interesting. Yeah.
commercials are so like there's stuff that like has stuck with me since childhood, like TV commercials that have stuck with me since childhood. Like
Yeah.
do you remember those Carl's Jr. commercials? The like if it doesn't get all over the place, it doesn't belong in your
Doesn't belong
face.
in your face. Yeah.
Remember the drip, like they be eating it, it's like and then like
Yeah,
drips
but
down
they
and it like
played that a shit ton.
yeah, I was in front
It
of a
was just,
TV a
it was
lot
like your whole childhood
though.
was hot girl eating Carl's Jr. dripping commercial. And it's like, that's going to affect you. You
Definitely did.
know?
Definitely did.
And then
It's
I think
gonna
they
confuse you if you're a teenager too. You're like, well,
you're gonna be like, whoa. Well,
hot
it's
girl
gonna be like, I
cheeseburger.
need to get a burger. It's hot. It's pretty sexy.
You go to the Carl's Jr. You're like, why do I feel so weird?
I know, it feels like you're like going to like get a date or something.
your mom
Wait.
barges
It's like
in
you
your
get
room. What are
you
you
get the
doing?
burger.
Your mom barges in your room. Why is the door closed? And
I don't know.
eating.
I'm just eating. A lot of horny people at that drive-through.
Right.
And they don't know why.
Or like there was a military commercial. I think it was like the Navy or the Marines or something. I just remember it because it really actually influenced me. Just one of the quotes from the commercial, and it was, if somebody wrote a book about your life, would anybody read it?
Yeah, I remember that.
And it made me kind of like introspect and like think about myself. I'm like, no, like my life is boring. I need to like enhance that shit.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
remember that. Or yeah, I mean, all those. I looked at this like BuzzFeed, this millennial BuzzFeed, things you only know if you're a millennial or whatever, and
yeah.
I was kept looking at them, and I'm just like, oh my god, I forgot. It's like,
You forget about all those things.
all that shit, like Garbage Pail Kids,
Oh
whatever.
my
It was
gosh.
just like, what? All the shit that just like
Like
sparked.
it's just like it's gone out of your memory until right
But
now.
then
And
you
you're
see
like,
it, and you're
what?
like, oh yeah, I remember those
It
things.
was like a toy you had or
But
some sort of like
man,
snack.
remember, that's all we had. We had like only a few channels on TV
Mm,
that we liked as kids. There's
yeah.
only like maybe
Like
3 channels that we
Nickelodeon or
liked.
whatever.
We didn't
Yeah.
have, millions of iPad options and YouTube options.
Yeah.
So they would bombard the shit out of those channels.
Yeah.
You just see the same commercials over and over and over and over.
Oh my gosh. Like I'm visiting my dad. I get to see what's on TV now, right? And like what the commercials are. Oh my god, it's all like made for TV stuff, like like ShamWows and stuff like that, or like as seen on TV stuff you would see at the as seen on TV store or whatever at the front of like a CVS. That's with the label as seen on TV. It's just like random stuff, like stuff to put on your car and like
Really? Those are the
types of
commercials now?
yeah, like one was like a battery powered fan that you can put anywhere. I'm like, wow, this is like, and they're
Whoa.
just so cheesy. And then everything else is like pharmaceuticals.
Yeah,
Everything else is
right.
because it's like it's
Right.
directed towards old people because old people are what have
Right.
cable now. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's
it's
all there. Yeah. It's changed so much.
it's
Um,
wild.
there's some tech stuff on there like Amazon. Well, I guess that's, let me rephrase that. It's like if you're watching an Amazon Prime or Hulu movie or something.
They're gonna be
Those are different
they're gonna
commercials.
be
Yeah.
they're gonna be like pushing their own content, or they're gonna have an ad that's targeted specifically towards you because they have all your
Right.
data.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like it. I tend to buy more because of advertising now.
I don't feel like I do.
It's so interesting. Well, I definitely do. I
Yeah.
do. Like
I
I see
mean,
something like actually I bought this thing that I saw. Actually it's right here. I'm gonna pick it up.
uh-oh.
All right. So my neighbor, he picked this up while I was away. This, I'm gonna open it. It is, I posted about this in the Jaunty alumni Facebook page. This is a card game that you can play with people that you don't know to get to know each other. And it's called We're Not Really Strangers.
Oh, is this the two people sitting at the park?
Yeah, in the
yeah.
thing. And then I got the Inner Circle expansion pack with it too. But it's, so it's got, let's see what's in it. You basically ask questions to each other and you get to answer them and you get to be really vulnerable, or it's
As
supposed to help you.
strangers.
Yeah, or even your friends too, right? But you can ask this to a stranger. So let's see what's in here. Oh, there's a personal note from the creator. I have found there are 2 ways to play this game. 1, play safe. 2, play to grow. The second is how you win. That's really cool. It's really cool.
That's so cool.
Okay. So there's different levels. So there's level 1 cards are perception. So the one of the questions I see here is, if MySpace were still a thing, what would my profile song be?
Yeah.
Cool. Level 2 is connection. And it says, how can you become a better person? This is the sample card, or the first card that I see. And then level 3 is reflection. And this is a wild card, actually. It says, both players write a note to your younger selves, 1 minute, option to compare. That's really cool. That's really cool.
Let's play.
All right. What do you want?
You're going to have to draw for me.
Okay, what level do you want?
Well, let's do something without writing. Let's do...
Perception, level 1?
Sure.
Okay. Ooh, this will be good.
Well, perception wouldn't work because we know each other.
Yeah, but it could still be.
So let's do.
Let's see what the question is.
Let's do the second one.
Okay. Wait, I just kind of want to see. Actually, okay, we can do the second one. But there was a cool question.
What was it?
It says, "What about me is most strange or unfamiliar to you?"
I like that.
Okay, let's see.
But you're pretty familiar to me. But what is strange about Craig?
Yeah, think about it. You got to think. What about me is strange or familiar?
Well, I mean, familiar is easy. I think because we've just read and worked on such similar things, and being social and approaching and making friends, and philosophy, social intelligence.
Sorry, I meant unfamiliar.
Oh, okay. What about me is most strange or unfamiliar to you? Yeah.
I would, yeah.
Well, I think some of the, obviously we differ in a few things. I think what's strange, I want to say something more positive. I don't want to go what would be strange, Craig?
Or we could play the one with the people that you know, the inner circle. Let's see. Let's see what's in here.
There is something cool to there is something really cool to go asking a stranger a crazy question.
Yeah.
When you just meet them. I think there's something really cool to that. Okay, no, I want to come up with something. I think what would be strange is I think when you went corporate was a little bit strange to me. Like I never saw you doing that. I didn't think you would go to the corporate side of stuff or try it out, but it's good that you did. Because you're more of a kind of entrepreneurial, social,
Yeah, the way
like
that
not a tech analyst, like
the way that worked out was pretty interesting too. So
right. That was yeah, that was interesting. That was unfamiliar. Was your tech side? Was your tech experimentation?
tech experimentation. Okay, here's a question for me then,
Okay.
for me to answer. So, what compliment do you think I hear the most? So what compliment do I think you hear the most?
Hmm.
You're so charming.
I get that one. Thanks, Craig.
Yeah. So the inner circle one is cool because it's all stuff about for people you know. So example question is, what are you currently working through that I don't see?
What are you currently working through that I don't see? Okay, so am I asking you that?
Sure.
Oh, no, you're asking me that.
Or I'm at, yeah, sure.
What am I working through that you don't see? Hmm.
Or what am I? Wait, yeah.
No, I'm gonna tell you what I'm working through
Okay.
that you don't see. I think I mean I still really struggle with the tinnitus and I don't really make a thing about it ever. So I'm working through that, some health stuff, I guess. Uh, yeah, I think that would be the biggest elephant in the room.
Okay.
What about you? Why don't you answer that question for me?
What I'm working through that I don't see, or that you don't see.
Right.
I have a lot of fear about the move.
Hmm.
Yeah, a lot of fear about just uncertainty with the way, with this whole COVID-19 and business, and it's gonna be like on my own, and especially like leaving behind a lot of things that I really value. I know it's not permanent, but it is something that's really, really hard, and it takes a lot of courage, I think, that I'm building.
Dude, it does. I'm proud of you. And I'm here for you.
So we can get that circular peg through a square hole.
Oh yeah.
With lots of loop.
Yeah, I mean those holes are flexible, man. Unfortunately, they're not as tight as you think.
Woo! Oh my.
Whoa.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, but I think this would be really cool to play with people.
You should set up one. Well, I guess they kind of did it. Was that a commercial?
Yeah, it was
Like
like an
that was a
advertisement for.
promotion for their game?
Yeah.
I see.
Really
Cool.
really well done. Right? It was like,
Yeah, it was in Santa Monica.
oh yeah.
That's where
Oh
the
yeah, it
table
looked
was
like it
set up.
was, yeah, it was next to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Anyways, and they had one for like dating that was coming out. They like partnered with Bumble.
Oh, cool.
So that's interesting too. But yeah, I'm looking forward to like trying it. I know Marie wanted to play it online.
Yeah, I talked about this in one of my videos with Steph. Actually, we spent a 7-hour car ride from LA to Tahoe, asking really deep questions like that. We just Googled questions, we just Googled like really deep questions, and what to ask your significant other, significant other.
Like, would you rather? Like.
Yeah, never have I ever. No, it was just really deep questions. We put a link on that YouTube channel where we got some of our questions, but those are very similar questions, and you can get very close very fast, or at least you can feel very close very fast.
Yeah.
When you start rapid firing those things, you don't remember. A month later, you don't really remember each one and what they said. That's why it might be nice to do like one a day or something. But it's fun. It's definitely like fun to go back and forth. But
And
when
it's
when
vulnerable.
it's
Super vulnerable.
what?
Super vulnerable. Like with
It's
some of these
super vulnerable.
questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like some of these deep questions. Yeah, you're like, whew.
Yeah. I know. It makes you think. You can't just answer them quickly either.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you think. You're like, wow, should I go into that?
Like, what's an example of a time that you felt like you should have done something differently, or or whatever,
Yeah,
something
some
where
deep
it's like
thing
you get
like
to
that.
think about like the things that bug you and the things that are really important to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun processing those things, and it's fun watching other people come up with things like that. And I think, I think it's a smart game. I might
Totally.
order a couple of those.
Yeah. I think I just want to like take this to the park or something and be like, hey, does anybody want to play a game with me?
Yeah, people be like, all right, I'll do it.
Go do a direct approach. Be like, hey, you seemed interesting. Thought you might want to play this game.
Right, or just have them sitting next, have the cards like laid out, and just see if
Yeah.
anyone.
Pick one.
Right, just be like, go for it. Read one to me.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
No one will be able to resist that.
Right.
That's like crack for anybody.
That's an experience. Yeah. Just choose one.
What?
Your
What is
fate
it?
is in your hands. Our fate is in your hands.
All right.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah, take it to New York.
I plan on it next week. I might take it.
Yeah.
I might bring it with me. That'd be fun.
Walk around with it.
Going back to the thing we were talking about, advertising, how it gets into your head.
Mm-hmm.
I was like thinking about like social versions of that. And I remember having a phase when I was like super into NLP and like Tony Robbins type of stuff, and then other like people were into the pickup-y like NLP where they would like anchor. They do anchoring, try to anchor an emotion to like some sort of thing that they would say to a person to make them feel closer to them or make them feel a certain way. What do you think about that stuff?
So honestly, the research behind it's pretty weak.
Yeah.
So NLP is like, I mean, there's no good research that shows that any of it work. I will say this though, it's very in the moment, capturing and exciting to do, and it gives someone direction, which gives someone confidence. Like,
Right.
I don't say confidence, but it's like, hey, if you say this and say it this way and do it this way, you're going to have this positive result. So if someone's doing that and they're feeling like this is going to work, it's almost bulletproof. It's kind of like framed. They're going to act like it's bulletproof. They're going to act like they can, throw all these words in and, lead you and anchor stuff. And, I mean, some of it again is memory based. So some of the anchoring can work. Like if you touch someone only when you guys are laughing and you do it a million times, and then you touch someone when you're not laughing,
Turns into a conditioning, right? Yeah.
There can be conditioning, right? There can be some of that. But as far as immediate effect and like, there's certain things like yes ladders, and obviously there's choice, there's better choice, like, hey, does Tuesday or Wednesday work? Or is that 415 or 510?
Right.
you're giving them, you're not giving them an out. That's a little bit different than NLP, but
But yeah, it's all influence stuff. And like, I think a lot of people go into like looking into social intelligence and looking into personal development in a way that's like from a place of manipulation to start, right? They start with like, how can I get somebody to do what I want? um that was specific to me. I actually was, when I was home, I was picking up a bunch of books, and I was like putting them in boxes, and I almost left this one book at home because I never really got into it. Luckily I got into, Jaunty stuff before I went too far down a rabbit hole. But I I I just wanted to bring it as an artifact. So I have this book. It's called Mind Control,
oh
and
my
it's
god,
like the psychological art of, or the art of psychological warfare or something like that. And I never read it. I bought it with the intention to read it, and like, because I used to have like a mindset of like, scarcity, and I wanted to be able to influence people. I wanted to be able to make more friends. I wanted to be able to um, convince people of things, debate people, get them on my side for stuff. And I think a lot of people who get into like NLP and stuff like that are going because they have that intention of trying to change somebody's mind, to trying to make them like you or make them follow you or something like that. And when you start getting better results with like the social intelligence stuff, when you start actually, opening up and making connections with people, I think that's when people start making that shift of wanting to, not wanting to manipulate so much, because they're like, oh, that I have abundance, right? The abundance mindset feeds into the high status mentality, where you're not wanting to manipulate people, not wanting to get things out of them.
yeah. I think most people have the automatic viewpoint of let's let's make the world look at me at a certain way, right? They have the mindset of I need to change something which is not me, right? I need to change this person's viewpoint on me. I need to create this person's viewpoint on me. Um, I need to make people at work think this about me, or I need to make this person attracted to me. And it's the last thing people are thinking is I need to make myself more attractive. I need to
Right.
make myself more. Um, I need to be able to express this humor side of me that I can find. I need to be able to use my assertiveness and boldness that I have. You know, and so hold on, I'm getting an interruption here. Okay, and and it's unfortunate. Like it's not a smart move because there's a whole shit. It's this is why self help goes on forever. And the bottom line is that number one, it's very hard to change certain things, and number two, you're changing into something that will need to be changed very quickly again.
Right.
Right, so it's like all of a sudden you want to be an in-person rock star, but then you need to change because COVID happens, and now we need to be an online personality or something, right? And so that it's like that's like a change, right? That needs to change all the time. So you're better off
Just
you're
building
better
yourself
off
up.
right, exactly. So finding the things that create your adaptability, that create your that find your best humor, it's sticking with those things that you're wired for. I think we talked a little bit about that earlier, but um,
Yeah, and like as we talk about in our classes, right? Like ultimately, you're naturally high status. You come out of the womb being high status, and you come out of the womb being attractive. Everybody loves babies, right?
Right.
And we want to just get back to that, because nobody starts out being awkward or shy or anxious, right? Things happen to you over time that cause you to be awkward, shy, and anxious. And to work on that stuff so that you can strip all that negativity away, strip away all the anxiousness and the behaviors of low status and awkwardness. That's when you can start being yourself and bringing yourself back to your natural state. And yeah, if you can just be able to express yourself out there and being your natural self, then like why you're going to get so much further. And the people who are most successful in life are just like the weirdest people, right? Like they're so unashamed to be themselves.
Yeah.
We love that.
Yeah. I would take it even a step further and be like, embrace it, or not only embrace it, but I think shyness and anxiety can actually be genetic. I think a lot of it really is. And so I think the best thing to do is use them better. Use your anxiety. Like someone who has zero anxiety, they're not motivated to do anything. If you have zero, like, oh, I'm a little bit anxious about what I'm going to eat next, it's like I'm a little bit anxious about where I'm going to live next, right? So anxiety might not be a bad thing, even though it feels shitty and it
Yeah,
can
it's ultimately how you respond to it, right? You can
it
you
can
can be
inhibit a lot.
shy, and anxious, and if you like are open about it and go up to somebody that you wanted to talk to and you say, hey, I'm feeling really shy and anxious about this, but like I wanted to come say hi, right? People are going to be very accepting. Nobody's going to like hate you for like
Right.
being open. And like that's courage, right? Courage is not having no fear. Courage is facing your fear and being vulnerable about it. And um yeah, I mean, like, so people have natural anxiety levels based on nature, but ultimately behavior is learned, right? Like, a feeling or a physiological response versus how you act in that feeling or physiological response, right? Those are two separate things.
Right. So exactly, it's like fear can be changed. You can overcome fear. Your anxiety levels might still be up, but if you have zero fear, see, I think I think it's called self-consciousness, right? And it's a I think it's a trait of neuroticism. Is your amount of emotional stability and it's self-consciousness, right? So for instance, approaching someone attractive, doing approaches. Now, your anxiety might, so let's say you do it a million times or a billion times and you just lose the fear of it. You use gradual exposure, you create abundance in your life, you really don't care anymore, right? Which we see in our students. You still will have anxiety. The anxiety might come, of course. I have anxiety, but I really don't have fear. Like I don't have the fear of getting rejected and it ruining my life, right? But yeah, is my heart rate going to go up? I hope so, or you're not human, right? Is my is my palms going to get a little sweaty? Okay, yeah, these are physiological things that are kind of built in us, and they're not bad things. They actually make it exciting in some sense. It's better than just do, being completely jaded of something and with no challenge.
Yeah, and like owning it, right? Owning your sweaty palms and your weirdness and like all the silly weird things that you think, right? I think that's what people fall in love with, is like everybody's got like a weird lens at which they look at the world, right? They have a weird, people talk to themselves and make weird voices and have like thoughts that are totally outside of the normal, and when they are really unashamed about expressing them, our ears perk up and we go, what is that guy talking about? Right? Like imagine Jim Carrey in 1996. Like imagine Jim Carrey in 1996 when like Ace Ventura 2 comes out. If he had been like 60% as extra as he was, only six, you know, he was 40% less ridiculous and like expressive in how he was with his comedy. Would it be like, would people have loved that guy as much as they did?
Right.
I don't think so, right? If he was too mellowed out, if he was too concerned about how other people would perceive him, he wouldn't have been that character. He wouldn't have been that ridiculous person, and nobody would have been quoting him. Then nobody would have been like, "Alrighty then," right? And they wouldn't have been like,
Right.
"Somebody stop me!"
Whoa,
Right?
you're
Like
good at
I loved Jim Carrey as because he was so ridiculous. He was
Yeah,
so out there.
he's amazing.
Can I?
But look what
ask
happened.
you
Look what happened to Jim Carrey. He actually hates his own whole self now.
I mean, but that's like everybody, though, right? Like the more you grow, the more. I mean, now he's more of a wise man, like an older guy, just thinking about his life and stuff. But that's what people loved about him, and he's still silly, right? But he's not. He's much calmer. He's like so much calmer, and doesn't make him less of that person. He was just, everybody changes over time, as you were saying, right? Like you're gonna have to keep changing.
Right. Yeah. I like the idea of, hey, my palms are sweaty. Be like, oh, well, that's gross. You got my palms sweaty. Like, I think there's a lot more of that coming out, like being more normal. Like that's kind of like TikTok. We're embracing our weirdness.
Jaunty Mingo card.
Yeah.
Talk about TikTok.
TikTok, Jordan Peterson. What's next? What are we missing?
Embrace the weirdness, dude. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think so. I think that is what makes us endearing. I mean, it's our imperfections. It's like, what was it? Superman, right? So there was a point where Superman, the old comic books of Superman, he ended up becoming too powerful, and he became too bulletproof and too, all of a sudden they kept adding powers, and nothing can stop him. He had zero challenges. I mean, he was basically able to pick up the world and destroy, whatever he wanted.
He had like laser vision. He had like he could blow and create ice, and
right.
And then in like, what was it, the Christopher Reeves movie, he like flew around the world fast enough that he
changed
turned back
time.
You're like, what? Come on. That's why, like, I never liked Superman, because he was just never relatable. So I always like Spider-Man, because he's like a nerdy kid who's like afraid to talk to girls. He still has like a regular teenage life. He's got his aunt that embarrasses him, and he gets bullied at school, but then he puts on the mask and he becomes that superhero that he actually is. And then he becomes really witty and snarky and fun and silly, and he talks to himself. He has that inner dialogue. Superman, it was like, he doesn't have any dialogue, right? He's just like, I'm gonna do that. Oh, this needs to be done. I did it. I saved them. I don't know. I'd never really.
Yeah. What ended up happening? That's what ended up happening, is that he got to. It was like nothing was a challenge, and he was like with the omnipresent, omnipotent, just the know all, be all, able to do everything. And so what they ended up doing was they created kryptonite.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so now people started loving him again because he had a limitation. Yeah. So people started liking the fact that he had to overcome and get beat up, and the old hero story, the old hero arc.
But I still had an issue with that, because like kryptonite was supposed to be like the was supposed to be like the like least abundant mineral in the universe or whatever. It was like so hard to get. Only Lex Luthor could get it, or like somebody from a different planet. So I was like, he's just not. He's not as relatable. I don't know. People who like Superman
Yeah.
really like Superman. Like Shaquille O'Neal, he loves Superman. His bed
Yeah.
is like the shape of Superman's logo. I think it's like 30
Must have been a
feet
fun
wide.
night, Craig.
It was really good. You know, for a guy that size, you would expect more, but
No, I think I watched that Cribs episode.
yeah.
I love that show.
That's exactly it, dude.
Remember MTV Cribs?
Yeah, they would go. You know what they would do? They would put fake stuff into their houses, right? Like they would rent out a fake house.
Oh
Or like a
no.
mansion or something. They would rent out like a mansion, or they would like put like extra shit just for the show to make it seem like they're balling like crazy.
Oh man.
Which is like all the external status stuff, right? Like it's all the stuff that like, it's like, okay, we got. I think remember Chappelle's show? They made fun of it. He was like, check out my crib. He's like, every morning I eat dinosaur eggs. Like.
Oh, it's over exaggerated it. That's great. Chappelle's a master.
Oh, he was the best. He was the best. But like,
So
yeah, they had like fake stuff, and they would like, it's all like, it's the same stuff that you see with like, you know, these people on Instagram, and they're like in like a rented Lamborghini, or like, you know, they're in like a rented Lambo, or like, you know, some mansion that they've rented out. Like that was the whole thing with like Ty Lopez.
Right.
Was like his house.
It's
like
external
Airbnb house.
External stuff, yeah.
Yeah, external stuff. Does that really matter? Maybe for online clout, but like initial clout. But does that make
it works?
But does that make people really invest in you?
Yeah, I think Ty Lopez is making a lot of money, but you know, he has like 50 different businesses that he's like selling online. So at a certain point, you're like, are any of these good? But he's a master internet salesperson, I guess.
I mean, he's yeah. I love Charisma on Command. They did a breakdown of his like in my garage video and like why it works and what he does. But what he does is he's polarizing. He says, you know what, most of you aren't going to like this, but for those who are, click my link and then I have another video for you. And like, so it already filters out the people who aren't going to invest at all. And
well, I think that makes people want to click it, right?
it makes some, I mean, it also, I mean, it's one of those
like,
things.
Oh, I don't want to be one of those guys who don't like it.
Pushback,
what am I missing out on?
Yeah, when there's pushback, that gives the opportunity for him to spin it a little bit. But the one thing, you know, one thing it also does is the people who will never buy aren't going to click it, right? It automatically filters those people out. And then once he's gotten the click from his ad, he can track that and put it into his next advertisement to only have it be the people who did click on it. So he can advertise to the people who like him even more. And so he filters and filters, and then he gets like his mailing list and stuff. And so this is Ty Lopez being his self, right? Being that kind of like polarizing person, the thing we talked about a couple of weeks ago about like being your natural self and just being vulnerable and being polarizing. And you're not going to get everybody to like you, but the people who do like you are going to follow you. And you don't waste time on the people who aren't going to ever buy or ever, you know, buy into who you are.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's like inspiring in some sense. Like, if you want to set all that up, it's like, hey, well, our online class, we can do something like that, or we can do something similar to get those ideas. But I don't know. Like,
what's up, guys? I'm in my penthouse.
It's not hard to.
It's
It's
just
not
like
hard
it's
to
just
do
like
that.
Dan Bilzerian. It's like a Dan Bilzerian thing. Like if Dan
Oh
Bilzerian
yeah,
had like a
that fucking guy.
you're
He
the
was like
secret.
he was one. You know, he was one of the first Insta guys, right?
Yeah, he was like the guy. He was like the Instagram dude.
Yeah, I mean, he's you know, he was like the poker champion guy or whatever.
He won $50 million in a bet,
Right.
and
And
he's
then
like, and his girlfriend had just broken up with him, and so he's like, I'm gonna take my buddies, gonna get like 12 chicks, and we're gonna go party in Mexico
yeah.
for like a week, and that's what they did. And he like, you know, because he lived in Vegas, he knew all these like models and stuff, and then he's like, I'm gonna put it on Instagram, and that's how it started.
Yeah. What a
He's got a
guy.
brand. His brand is interesting.
Yeah, no, I saw him on the Joe Rogan show.
Yeah, that's how I heard about his story. I listened to him talk about it.
And yeah, it's cool, I guess, you know.
I mean, he's like forthcoming about it. He's like, yeah, you know, this is what it is, and I think that's
Right.
what people like about him. I mean, obviously, like there are other reasons why, like, you know, 16 to 23-year-old dudes follow him. You know, like,
Yeah, they're like, I mean, you get sucked into that, you're inspired.
yeah, exactly.
It's like I want to be like that.
Now your palms are sweaty for another reason.
Yeah. No, but I mean, his pictures were cool. Like I remember, like right when he started coming out, I was telling this guy at WeWork about him, and he really wanted him to be his advertising guy, but he was charging $400,000 to have him come to his party. So he said,
Shit.
yeah, he's like, it's going to cost you $400,000. You better be spending $1 million on this party, so it's a good party. Those were his two
What
criteria.
was he advertising? What was he trying to advertise? Holy shit.
So this guy did a emoji. It was like an emoji. He wanted Dan to use his emoji apps, his emoji pictures or whatever.
Oh.
And so, yeah, he wanted to invite him to his party, take pictures at his party using emojis, using
Maybe starts a little bit smaller. You know.
No, but I mean, you know, it was a funded company, but it was just that's what Dan's
That's crazy. It's like you're spending
requirement
of
was.
$1.5 million for a party just to have Dan Bilzerian come to your party.
Well, people do that anyway. Some of these people spend, you know, tons of money.
The party wouldn't be in San Francisco though, right?
Well, I know. I mean, you do it at a Pac Heights house or something, like just renting the place, you know. Or you do it at like, you know, one of those halls, the Bentley Reserve or something, and just throw a big massive
I just feel
party.
like it's not Dan Bilzerian's aesthetic.
You can invite, yeah, maybe. I see. San Francisco.
It's like he'd be like more LA, you know.
Yeah. I don't think he cares. He gets $400,000 to go party somewhere, and it's going to be a good party. So
right, it better be. Spending $1 million on a party. Holy crap!
Yeah, you rent the place out. You get food, drinks.
Have a great Gatsby party, like one of those big,
decorations.
Can you imagine being in the 1920s and like being like one of those people, like the Great Gatsby? Those parties.
Oh my girlfriend and I just watched Midnight in Paris.
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
And they had some, you know,
that's
the 20s.
But especially except for when it was in night vision, it wasn't really that. Oh wait, no, that's A Night in Paris. Never mind.
Oh.
No.
Oh right, a night in Paris. Right, the night vision part was it was hot, you know.
No, Midnight in Paris.
That's a blast from the past.
Owen Wilson.
Yeah, Owen Wilson.
I love that movie. That movie's great. It made me want to be like. it made me want to do that, like go back in time and hang out with
Yeah.
like F. Scott
But I mean,
Fitzgerald.
the lesson of it was that
Everybody's
everyone wants to
always,
do it.
everybody, in the future
Oh,
they're gonna
this
want to
was
come
the
back to.
best. This was the best. I
Are,
wish
are,
they'd I wish they would do it again and go back to like the Renaissance or
in
something.
the 2060s, are they gonna want to come back to the 2020 to 2020?
No one's gonna come back to
They're gonna be
2020.
like, "Oh my god, you remember? You hear
No
about this?
one.
Okay. You know how they have a thing for every month? Like, the Murder Hornets was like
Yeah.
whatever, and
What
COVID,
is
and
this
like
month?
COVID. July is supposed to be there's like a Saharan sandstorm crossing the Atlantic Ocean, and it just touched down in in like North Carolina.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Like, dude, it's like coming from continents, dude.
Just when you think it couldn't get any worse.
I was like, is that? It's like, why? When will it stop? Like,
There was a joke where somebody was going back in time to the beginning of 2020 or something, or 2019, and they were like, "Oh, I can't wait." 2019 was the worst, right? And they're like, "Oh yeah, the fires, life changing, the fires." The fires of 2019. Remember the fires?
yeah.
Like the whole world was on fire. Like the
All of
Amazon was on
Australia.
fire.
Yeah.
Australia was done. California was burning. That was the worst year ever. And the person was like, no, not the fires. It wasn't the worst part of this decade.
That's
Like,
that's
why?
funny.
What's coming up? What is it? No, it gets worse.
Yeah,
What the fuck?
it gets worse.
No one's gonna. It's awful. I think since pop punk started dying out,
yeah, right.
everything just went to shit. 2008.
Yeah,
right.
right.
Is when it just like died.
Things were just going downhill. What's that? Can we go
after
back?
pop punk stopped? Everything. As soon as Yellow Card broke up, Earth sucked.
It's so sad because like that's all I ever listened to is pop punk.
I know, it's pop punk stopped, and like everything just started falling apart.
Hey, My Chemical Romance got back together. They were supposed to tour to this year too.
Right? Look what happened.
God damn it! So I saw this thing. This guy, they were talking about how the Mayan calendar was supposed to end in like 2012 and it was supposed to be the end of the world.
Mm.
Well, because we're on a Gregorian calendar, we actually from a mixture of because like through the Roman Empire and stuff, we changed our calendar, and we used to instead of on leap year where we got an extra day, is every like 365 years we would skip forward a year. And so or something like that, or it was like anyways so the year was off by about 8 years. So if you look back at the old calendars, or like the real calendars, that the Mayan calendar actually goes to 2020.
The Mayan calendar.
So the Mayan calendar ends in
right.
2020 instead of 2012.
So this is the end of the world.
And yeah, end of the world. It's December.
Well, it feels like it.
Fuck.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. The only thing left is like a nuclear war.
Yay.
We basically had the zombie apocalypse.
Well, it was going to be World War III. Remember that? Everybody's freaking out. It was going to be World War III. And then Kobe died. And then that was like the tragedy of February. Kobe died.
Right. Yeah. And then, oh my God. And then COVID. And then, everything.
Lockdowns and racism and gosh darn it. All this stuff. 2020.
Yeah.
Can we do it?
Well,
Can we have a do-over?
One day we're going to look back at this. I mean, you look back at like, I don't know if it's
we're gonna be like, remember 2020 was pretty great. We had freedom. The
Nobody
alien-
worked.
The
No
aliens
one had to go to work.
yeah, right.
You know that like I heard, I don't know, I haven't fact checked this, but like Shakespeare and there's a lot of others, but they were in a lockdown. They were in a pandemic.
Was it Spanish flu or something?
Yeah, no, this was way back. This was maybe bubonic plague back or something. Um,
Oh yeah, Shakespeare, definitely.
so so like some of these some of these times that where good stuff came out of had these types of things.
Yeah,
You know.
right. Like I think people are being introspective and they're being more creative right now. I think that's good. And then like definitely people are valuing connections. We've talked about this before. People are like valuing connections more, being intimate more, um, being able to really like reevaluate what their lifestyles are. I think that's good overall.
Yeah,
But it
maybe
does
we
suck.
needed we needed a little smackdown.
Maybe there's always the silver linings, right?
We have to
Hit
find silver line.
pause.
Well, we have to, or we're gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
I've been feeling a little bit of cabin fever because we're quarantining a lot. We're like stuck
especially
until
since
we
you were in a cabin.
right. That was nice. No, since I got back, I started feeling that.
Oh yeah, especially when it's hot out over there, man. SoCal.
We went to the beach the other day, and that was really nice. A lot of people are out, but everyone's social distancing. They just shut down. They re-shut down bars today.
Yeah. The governor.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting
Whatever.
stuff. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. Anything's gonna like anything could change in a week.
Changes every day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like my dad was asking me about because I'm flying out next week, and my dad was like, I was like, "Are you gonna be able to fly?" I'm like, "Well, we're not on the list of like quarantine people, but that can change."
Right.
I got
Yeah.
7 days. We'll see.
I know. You never know. Yeah, things are.
And
And
then we'll just
then
rent a car and drive or something. I don't know.
and then there's all the debate on the vaccine.
Right.
Do you take it even if it comes out?
I mean, I don't know. I'd say
You know.
if you're like somebody with a health risk, yeah, definitely, right?
Who knows? Yeah, we don't know long-term effects of even the vaccine. So
Nobody
whatever.
knows. This is real positive.
Whatever. Yeah. We're all gonna die. I think we all. It kind of it reminds us of mortality. It
I think
reminds
that's
us of our
good.
mortality.
I think
Yeah,
that's good.
kind of do the
Remind
stuff that we want.
Yeah,
This
think
goes back to
about what really matters and what really does matter. Family.
all it is relationships, man. Health and
Yeah.
relationships,
Yeah.
and then just food.
The 4 F's.
The 4 F's in life. That's it.
The
Just
4 F's of
safety,
survival.
food. Yeah, I mean, just that's it.
Safety, food, and reproduction.
Yeah. Relationships. Yeah, I guess that goes under safety. Health. I was looking into buying a gun,
Yeah, me too.
but you can't.
I'm sure in some places you can, but
They're sold out
my dad
everywhere.
was saying I forgot I wanted to do it, but I had to go to the DMV on Friday, and even with 4 people, I was there like as soon as it opened. Even with 4 people in the DMV, especially during right now, I still wanted to murder somebody. It was like the DMV is like
DMV is the worst.
they were still giving me shit like attitude. They're giving me attitude. They're like, you didn't
Oh,
upload all the documents. I'm like, but I have all the documents right here printed out for you. Like, we need to scan this one. I'm like, okay, then scan it. And like, step away from the counter, sir.
oh my
Like,
god.
I have a mask on.
Dude, the DMV is made. It has to be a social experiment. It has to be. Everything is probably recorded for the human like
Yeah.
behavioral.
Well,
It just has for
I heard
data.
the California DMV is the worst DMV too. That's what
Dude,
I've
it's the worst.
heard.
Every time I go, no matter, I try to avoid it by going to like a happier town or a smaller, whatever the. No, it's worse.
Well, I mean, what kind of person wants to work at the DMV, right? Is it like the most
I
miserable
just don't
person?
understand why doesn't somebody like remodel it or redesign the experience?
Right? You could do most of that stuff online, right?
Yes, most of that stuff could be online, and you can like take a number and have a call back or a text when it's really your turn or some
Right.
shit. Like a 10-minute like warning or
Yeah.
something.
I it just reminds me of that episode of That 70s Show when Fez gets a job at the DMV and he's like he goes in and like they're treating everybody like shit and he's like, this is wonderful. He's
Right. I can do this all day.
yeah, right. He's like, it doesn't matter. I get to go at my pace. Well, that's the thing. It's like, it's a government job, so like they don't have to like please anyone. It's something that everybody has to do. Also, they get you with so many fees, man. like,
Yeah.
like it keeps on getting like that's the thing is like you passed your test to get your license when you were 16. But like every 4 years, you have to pay a fee to renew it.
Yeah.
You don't
No,
have to test. You don't have to retest.
they just
You just
want
have
the
to
money.
pay. Yeah, it's like it just creates money.
Yeah, it's a
These people
license.
who hate you.
You're buying a license. Yeah, you're renewing your license, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what type of personality does like grumpy or I don't know. I guess patient is you have to be patient, right? You can't be neurotic there. Like if you work there and you're neurotic, you're gonna shoot yourself in the face.
You're
You
just
have to be
droning
like
through
the
life.
least. Yeah, you have to be like very emotionally stable and
But
yet
able to
you
deal with boredom. Like, oh man, that's gonna be super boring. Or maybe not.
yeah.
You got all
So
this
like very low in adventure,
low energy.
very low in adventure seeking, right? Um, probably low in I don't know. Yeah, like self-consciousness
Have you ever
would be
met
low.
somebody who worked for the DMV? Like, have you ever met like outside of the DMV? Like, have you ever met somebody who worked for the DMV?
No, I think they're all spies. They're not real people. They're like testing out robot
Yeah.
assholes.
They're just they're just animatronics. The advent of the DMV came about after Walt Disney. Right,
Right.
like,
Yeah, no, I think it has to be some of the least my cheerfulness is actually like 30 or something. It's pretty low. I rated on cheerfulness.
what is
Uh,
cheerfulness? Is that just like putting on your customer service? Hi, how are you?
yeah, yeah,
It's like super fake, right? Yeah,
right.
I hate that.
Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, people that are super cheerful are not very successful. So yeah, maybe really high cheerfulness will be there. uh, maybe if you have it's actually the opposite. The higher their cheerfulness, the more they can probably do that job. So I bet their cheerfulness is really high.
Because they're gonna
Nothing can bring
last
them
longer
down.
there. Yeah.
Nothing can bring them down. Yeah. So your cheerfulness is probably has to be super high, not super low.
And when they boss people around, like just treat them like shit, they're like, "Ooh, this feels good." Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. Your agreeableness has to be your agreeableness will be really low for a DMV. That
Yeah.
would be so interesting. I would love to go ask DMV counter workers to reps to take the Big Five personality test.
Right. So
They probably wouldn't even take it. They'd be so disagreeable that they wouldn't take it. I'm not gonna take your test. I work for the government. I'm not gonna take your test.
They are ridiculous, dude. I swear. Yeah, so I wanted to go to the gun shop. And apparently my dad said he like drove by because it's like right off the freeway, and it was like he said there was like a line out the door, like around the corner and stuff. And I was like, damn, dude, like I didn't get to go. I didn't get to go check it out because I was too busy at the DMV. and I also went to the
Well, it's a good thing you didn't go to the gun shop first, Craig.
right. Yeah, I would have.
You don't want to be.
No, California. There's a 10-day waiting period for specifically that reason.
Right. I'm surprised though. Like,
and then I had to go to the post office too. So that's another.
Oh jeez, you had a day
to get my my passport.
Oh God, that sounds like the worst fucking day of all time. Dude. I had to go to the DMV and then I had to go to the post office to get my passport. Dude, why did you not separate those 2 days, man?
Dude, I don't know.
Unless they're right next to each other and you just had a free day. You need to separate those two, dude. That's like life-changing.
It was too much, man.
That is scarring.
Oh, I came back to my dad's house.
Crying.
I came back to my dad's house. Oh, and then we had our podcast that I thought was like deleted.
Oh, geez. That was that day?
That was that day. Yeah.
Oh,
right. I had the passport and then the podcast, and I thought it was deleted. I was freaking out. And my dad's girlfriend was like, "Hey, do you want to?" She's like, "We got like rum and 7-Up or whatever you want to drink." I was like, I need a fucking drink. Like,
yeah.
I was like, I think I'm going to need it now. Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
It was annoying.
Take shots of rum that day.
Yeah. No, we only had so much, so I didn't just needed to get a little edge off. I was like, Jesus.
Dude, it's so crazy what we have to do, what we've made ourselves do. I mean, it's so crazy. I guess you invent something like an airplane and travel, and you have different countries with different rules, and everything needs to be recorded. And
well, now, but 50 years ago, it wasn't.
It probably wasn't that bad, yeah.
When I went to Mexico when I was like 13, and I didn't even need a passport.
Yeah, you just need, right? I remember that. You just needed your driver's license.
Yeah, or birth certificate, or
your California ID. Yeah.
Yeah. So even more so with my whole thing, which was ridiculous, is apparently like my birth certificate was wrong, and they had to have an addendum to it. So like I had to have both these, and like people were like, "Wait a second,
oh,
you need more information. You need to fill out more paperwork." I'm just like, kill me now, please.
Oh, do I? You have to be super excited.
Yeah, like sweet.
Really?
Can't wait.
I wonder how many people would actually be able to do that. I love thinking about personality types. Like, who loves? My girlfriend loves organizing. She's like she loves organizing and like designing, and so I'm always like, I actually offered. I'm like, hey, you come over to my room, come over to my place and organize.
Organize.
She's like, I'll do it. I love it. She loves it. I wish I had that type of personality. But
yeah. I mean, I like to have stuff organized, but I'm not like one of those people. Like my friend came over and like organized my books by color, and I was in my bookshelf, and I was like, dude, I'm like, whatever, man.
That's awesome.
It's like a gradient, like
yeah.
I was like, dude, whatever, man. I'm like,
that's awesome though. Those people are they're pretty good. They're pretty, meticulous and good at what they do. If they put their mind to it.
Detail-oriented people, right?
Detail-oriented. Not me.
That's what we have Jackie for.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
Sorry, I can't be doing this right now. And that's the whole thing about that book. It's like you find the people that they really if they
can
the
do
puzzle pieces, then they do what they do well, and you do what you do well, and you work well together.
right.
Communication comes in between it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's harder to find people who are detail oriented. I don't know what's harder. Like who has all that? It's like what's the it depends on what you want to do, right? So like someone who's going to create an amazing album or like piece of art or song, usually they're very creative and very open but, other parts of their lives like there's no organization, you know. There can be no uh the
Yeah.
communication and EQ and whatever can suck. So,
It's like, like I'm thinking about like my really good friend he's a musician, and and an artist, and he just does his art all day, but like he never finishes it. And then like never like he doesn't know the business side. So he's just like one of those starving artists.
right.
He doesn't know the marketing and the distribution and all that stuff. And so it's like he's very talented, but like he doesn't know what to do with that talent. He like does it, he has his thing, but it's like, how do you have to like be connected with, that's why people have managers and like agents and stuff
Yeah.
like that,
So I have a question.
Okay.
So we can kind of lead up. Think of a fair way of saying it. When does discrimination start happening? So like, what if he wanted an organized manager, and well, let's go to something that is a little more measurable. Like, let's say IQ.
Okay.
So if you have a job where you need someone with a higher IQ, like a engineer or something, okay, architect, and a ton of people are applying for the position, you now have a trait that you're looking for that is born, that you were born into, God's given gift.
Well, IQ is flexible over time, but yeah, we could say so.
Not really.
You can train for IQ is a specific type of intelligence, right? And
It's cognitive ability. It's like
cognitive
processing speed, critical thinking. I mean, it's pretty much innate.
But critical thinking, I would say, is a skill. But usually, it's like pattern recognition. Like I've taken IQ tests before. I've taken it like 2 or 3 times, and it was usually like pattern recognition, for the most part, right? It's like you look at something really quick, and then you try to like recognize the pattern or say what's next in the pattern or whatever.
Right. You got a score at the end.
Yeah, and you get a score at the end.
Right.
And,
okay.
But like, say if I did that test or variants of that test every day for a year, like my score would increase.
Well,
because
not
a specific skill. That's
not if the questions changed.
Well, it's a skill of like recognizing patterns, right? I would think it's a skill. I don't know. We'll look it up.
Well, there's different types of questions that they ask. It's not just recognizing patterns. It's, you can do math. You can do problem solving, where it's, the bat costs this amount and the ball costs this amount. It's like, it's cognitive function, man.
Okay.
You can't really get better at it.
So okay, let's say
if it's done right. If it's done right, I mean, you're right. There's always going to be someone who's going to, cheat or find a hack to it, right? If you memorize it, you go to Kaplan or something, and they teach you all the different ways of studying. You're not really problem solving. You're just memorizing how to eliminate, or so, I don't know, there's always going to be some hack. But if it's done right, where you have a limited amount of time to just measure your brain.
Okay. So So anyways, you're measuring cognitive ability, and like there are people who it is quite obvious that they have like a high cognitive thinking power. And then your question was around
Well,
when do you start to discriminate, right?
so yeah, you're looking for basically you're you're looking for someone with this high cognitive ability, and that's like your first thing that you're looking for, let's say, because you don't need social skills. Let's say you don't need. It's just this engineer who needs to do these things fast. And is it are you discriminating if you only hire people with that do well on these tests? I mean, schools kind of like this, colleges are kind of like this, but are you discriminating? Is it
I think that's a very simplistic way of looking at it for a job, because every job you have to have multiple sets of skills, right? Like
well, I just said that all this person is
there's
doing is
no social skills at all. Like
no.
how do they get their direction, and who do they report to?
They get their direction from the
from
screen
from a
that
screen.
tells them
Okay.
what to do, and they give it to them. Yeah.
And then also like you probably also want to like test well is
Okay,
there
Craig, let me make this easier on you. Let's say you're the owner of the Golden State Warriors.
Okay.
And you well,
LeBron.
let me see.
I'm looking to recruit LeBron. Would I want LeBron on my team? He's arguably the best basketball player in the league, best player ever one-on-one.
Well, I mean,
But I wouldn't want
I don't know.
LeBron on my
You
team.
want to get a center. You want to get a center, right?
Okay.
And now you're looking at height. You
Okay.
know, let's say you want to get a rookie center who's never, you want to get someone in their farm league or something that you really don't have a lot of stats from. Okay.
Well, if I don't have any stats, then yeah, I'm gonna be like going off that one measurement. But if I have like, I mean,
So isn't that
position,
is that discrimination?
I don't think it's discrimination. However, I think in that position, you'd be looking like recruitment would be looking at previous career of like how they did with their team and how they performed, how they were with instruction or coaching and stuff like that, right? Like that's why I said like if I was looking for like if I was looking to fill a position that LeBron James could fill, I wouldn't want LeBron James on my team, even though he's the best fucking basketball player ever. Because when it's LeBron's team, it's LeBron's team. It's no one else's team. And like, that's not how, if I were the Warriors, that's not how the Warriors are. Like the Warriors got to the championships multiple times in the past, X number of years by being a team that works together. And there's a lot, they're not like the all-stars. It's not like the LeBron all-star, what was that, the Miami Heat that he was on? It's not like the LeBron all-star team. It wasn't like the all-star Lakers. It was just a team of people who worked really well together, and they all had their strengths. So I would look at that in a holistic way. But yes, if you're specifically
Okay, let's say you
isolating,
want to hire for a shampoo commercial,
okay,
and you can only hire someone who
somebody
has
with good
hair
hair,
on their head.
good hair, really good hair.
Are you
Because
discriminating?
yeah, absolutely. But I
Right.
don't think it's necessarily wrong, right? Like, because
Okay.
that's a
So
private
when
enterprise.
does it become not wrong? Like what levels are and what levels are
When the
not?
culture decides it is.
All right. That's a great answer. It's the best answer I think you can come up with. That's really good.
Well, yeah, when the culture decides it is. I mean, like ultimately, like I am. I would say ultimately I'm meritocratous, if that's a word. I'm making. I'm
I like it.
I like merit. I'll take merit and work ethic and attitude over results or some sort of preferred diversity, but it all depends upon like what your goals are. What are your goals? Right? Like why like when I was in college, I got hired to work at a store of of an inclusiveness diversity action, because I was the only white guy working in that store. And I thought it was silly. It was like the whole interview process was ridiculous. I didn't say, like, I told them I didn't care, basically, and I still got hired.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm just trying to think, like, if we end up like an antidote to racism, if we can hack, if we can get a Yelp on ourselves, this goes back to having that Yelp of ourselves. Like, what if there was a real way of, like the big five personality is interesting, but it's your personality, it's your worth ethic, it's your values. But what if it pushed further? What if it was like how smart you are, right? Now it gets a little tricky. It's
Yeah,
like,
and I think that's based around your goal. Like, what is your goal? Like, if we're talking about like organizations, right? If we're talking about like a hiring organization, and we're talking about like diversity and inclusion, which is important to a lot of organizations because of various reasons. A lot of the time it's because of PR, or because of investor interest, or HR not wanting to get sued and stuff like that. Um, like whether or not it be out of, and then a lot of the time it's because that's something that they truly value, the leadership truly values and that they want. Whether or not it is, I would take a look at it and go, okay, well, what ultimately is your value here, and what are you trying to achieve? Because yeah, like if you're just trying to get the highest IQ person, or the tallest person, or the one with the best hair, then you get that person. And I think being upfront about it too is important. Being like upfront about your, I think that was the thing about uh back when like Abercrombie and Fitch got like sued for, because like they did only hired white people uh of a certain look. Like it couldn't, no fat people, they had to look a certain way. And they
right.
yeah, like, and then they, their business took a big hit. But looking at it on the other thing, like their clothes only fit white people with no ass. Like
Mm,
so
right.
you want to like check that too. Like that was and that was the store I got hired to work at, because I was a white guy, because everybody in my store was Asian girls, because I worked at the kids store. I didn't work at the adult store. But yeah, I was like the only white guy in that store, and I got hired out of like a diversity inclusion initiative, which they like recruited me.
Mm,
And I was just like, well, extra 10 hours a week of work while I'm in school, making like a couple $100 a week is fine. But like, at that, that being said, is like, I think is like, who gives a shit like about that type of thing? Because it's just retail, and it's just like clothes that only a certain type of people want to buy anyways. Like, it's like like I don't see anybody who like doesn't fit that style wearing those clothes and like wanting to work there.
yeah, I don't know, but yeah, no, that makes sense. Some things it's right. Who cares? Um, and yeah, and so
But if it's like
and
behind the scenes stuff, right? If it's like
but I
working
still think it's
finance.
I still think, I mean, I still think it matters, like, morally, though. I still think it matters, for diversity of the company. I still think it matters, um, even branding wise, right?
Well, what do you mean?
Like,
Like, in what way does it matter?
well, if someone walks in, and they're like, "Wow, everyone looks the same," it's like a white bubble in here. I think that creates a brand. That creates a
Yeah.
bad
Well,
taste
it
in people's
creates an image, but I
mouths.
mean, like, what are you going to hire men to work at Victoria's Secret?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
You
that's
know,
same thing. It's
it's
like
like, all right,
that's
well, you can go into the dressing room and then come out and tell me how it looks.
all right. Thanks.
Like,
Right. Or exactly.
so,
So
I
yeah,
mean,
and that's
but
ridiculous.
that's the thing is like, I don't think people are really caring about those things. Well, maybe they are, um, but on the other hand, it's like, there are brands that aren't specifically about that type of thing, right? Like Walmart or like, I don't know, like like a tech company. Right? That's not a branding around a specific culture of people necessarily. Well, it is a branding.
Kind of.
Tech is definitely a certain type of culture, and it's definitely upper middle class. And upper middle class tends to be white people, whatever. So that definitely brands around that, but as far as like people internally, like what's your internal culture, it could be anybody, right? Like anybody can work in a finance department, anybody can work in an HR department, anybody can work in sales, anybody can work
I,
in marketing.
but it doesn't it take it
Like
does it takes
cultural and racial background, I'm saying.
right, it takes a personality though. It does take a specific, certain personalities or intelligence in different realms will work better at different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if there was a way to, if you walked around with an EQ score and an IQ score overall and a communication score and a skill set and all your personalities were broken down and someone looked at you and was like, hey, that's exactly the combination I really want.
Now, come to think of it, like I'm thinking about like Amazon, Amazon being the biggest company in the world right now, um, most successful company, and also like obviously there's a lot of different roles in Amazon, and it's in a great niche. However, like I think it's really known to be that company that is like no work-life balance, because Jeff Bezos doesn't believe in work-life balance. It's hard working there. Like we've had students who work there, right, who told us that it was like rough.
Hell
um,
yeah.
but I think that qualifies for people who want to work there, who want to work in that environment, who want to work really hard. So like company culture is actually a really big influence. If your company is big enough to have a reputation, that's somebody would, the talent would want to work there. Now, then it becomes definitely about the merit, because if everybody's treated the same way and it's rough, or everybody's treated like shit or whatever, then people are thinking, okay, why is, are they, it like, I don't know. And I'm not a culture expert. I'm not an expert on like any of these like diversity
But
inclusion
it
stuff.
could self filter the people in the
Definitely.
at least in the first like month, right? You have some of these companies that are just such crazy hours up front that it will weed people out. When I graduated college, I worked for American Express. It was like right out of college, and it was these 80-hour sales days and like 80-hour. I was in the brokerage, you know, and people were dropping like flies,
Yeah.
and it definitely only the people who I mean, I think they had a thing for just young, energetic idiots,
I mean, that's finance, right?
you know, or young, energetic, like ambitious, naive people.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was great. It was great for them because very soon they would have to stop paying them because they just would drop out.
Right. Right.
You know,
So I like, it's important to like hiring is one of the most important aspects of a company, right? Like who you hire is important, especially when you're developing a culture. And then firing quickly is also really important too. When somebody does not exemplify what you need out of your company and what's best for your company, then like I think firing quickly is really important, because the longer they're there, the harder it's going to be to fire them later. And like
Right.
also the longer they're there, the longer you're wasting their time. They could be working at a place that they truly love, and you could be replacing them. You could be not wasting time replacing them with somebody who's
Right.
better for that role.
Boom.
But yeah, I mean, like it's interesting. This like creating company culture is so, it's so big nowadays, right? Like I think, like 20 years ago, nobody gave a shit about culture.
Well, now there isn't like it. Everyone's working from home. There is no culture.
Yeah. And remote culture sucks. I mean, I
Remote
did it.
culture is awful.
I did it. I did it at the corporate job that I worked.
Yeah.
And 80% of the company, I wasn't remote most of the time, but 80% of the company was. And it created a lack of communication, and it created animosity between the different departments and the different roles that had to collaborate with each other, because they didn't see each other every day. And so it was just a name on Slack or a name in the computer, in your CRM.
You're just numbers and
It wasn't, yeah. And
emails.
when you interact with that person, they have no compassion, because you're just a name to them. You don't see them every day, and don't have to treat them with dignity. You don't treat each other with dignity, respect, and neighborliness. And that was the issue that I found, definitely from remote culture, and that I would say is probably hard to avoid, but definitely like potentially avoidable. I mean, there are companies that they say they have good like remote culture. I would look
You could
into those.
probably set it up. I mean, if you have structure, and I mean, I think there's a certain point where remote culture would get hard. There's nothing worse than more than 6 people in a Zoom like conference meeting.
Yeah, well, and that was another thing, is like we would have our all hands meeting, and it would be everybody in the company, up to 200 people are supposed to be on this meeting for an hour straight. You know how many man hours that could be? Like that's like messing with, when like
Mm-hmm.
really you only really benefit from like 5 minutes of it, or even to understand like what the rest of the company is going through. Yeah, well, you could just get the minutes. You could just get like a little email with bullet points of what's going on.
Yep.
I feel like there needs to be a better way to do that, to organize remotely. um there's probably some, like, I don't know, there's probably some technology that does that, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I like the idea of minimalizing, and I just heard this quote: "A lot of books could have been written as a blog, and a lot of blogs could have been written as a tweet."
A lot of meetings could have been an email. I've heard that
And
one a lot.
a lot of meetings could have been in an email
Yeah.
with a few bullet points.
I mean, that was one thing that I really learned from like being in a fraternity in college. Like,
The minutes.
yeah, well, the minutes, and then like when we did Robert's Rules of Order in the meetings,
Mm-hmm.
to keep it down, because otherwise people would just talk and talk and talk. It's like, hey, if you wanted to talk about this, come to the committee, right? Come to the committee
Right.
meeting, and we'll talk. If you really want to like shoot ideas out there, like get involved with that committee. Don't freaking
Don't use it in the
in everybody's time. Yeah,
right.
we got stuff to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, having that, creating processes for that to be open, I think is important in big organizations for sure.
That's why we don't like, our meetings are just as efficient as needed, It's like we don't need to sit around and talk about stupid shit.
Yeah. Sometimes somebody has to say, "Hey, can we talk about this later?"
Right. Yeah, let's take this offline.
Take this offline.
We can
Let's
take
figure
this
it out.
offline.
God, don't you love that phrase?
We can take this offline.
Let's take that offline.
Yeah, we'll take this one offline, Craig. Speaking of offline, I need to run.
All right. It's been good.
It's been real.
It's been real good.